Sarah Ferguson may have just received the financial lifeline she's needed for decades. Following the death of her former boyfriend, Formula One billionaire Paddy McNally, reports now suggest the Duchess of York could inherit part of his estimated £600 million fortune. If true, it would mark an extraordinary twist in a relationship that began years before she ever met Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, and one that reportedly continued quietly behind the scenes for more than 40 years. But perhaps the biggest reason this story has attracted so much attention is Sarah's long and well-documented history of debt, money troubles, and lavish spending. For years, questions have surrounded how she managed her finances, the wealthy friends who repeatedly came to her rescue, and whether she ever truly escaped the financial chaos that followed her divorce from Andrew. Here's what we know. Paddy McNally died earlier this week at the age of 88 after a prolonged illness. Known throughout Formula One as one of the sport's biggest commercial figures, McNally built an enormous fortune through corporate hospitality and trackside advertising. In 2006, he sold his company, All Sport Management, for around £262 million. By the time of his death, reports estimated his personal fortune at around £600 million. Now, according to multiple reports, Sarah Ferguson could be among those who benefit from his estate. Exactly what she may inherit remains unclear. There has been no confirmation of whether any inheritance would come in cash, property, or another form of asset. But the reports have immediately reignited interest because of Sarah's financial history. The relationship between Sarah and Paddy goes back to the late 1970s. After the death of Paddy's wife, Anne Downing, Sarah worked as a nanny for his two sons, Sean and Rollo. Despite the 22-year age difference, the two began a relationship that lasted several years. According to royal accounts, Sarah eventually wanted marriage. At the 1981 Italian Grand Prix, she reportedly gave Paddy an ultimatum, asking him to commit. He didn't. The relationship ended shortly afterwards. Not long after, Sarah's life changed forever. She was reintroduced to then Prince Andrew through mutual friend Princess Diana. Andrew and Sarah had actually met as children, but it wasn't until the early 1980s that they began seeing each other seriously. Their whirlwind romance led to one of the biggest royal weddings of the decade in July 1986. But even after Sarah married into the royal family, Paddy McNally never completely disappeared from her life. Instead, he remained one of her closest confidants. Sarah herself has described him as a father figure. Andrew Lowney, biographer of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, quotes Sarah saying, "He taught me so much about life. Whenever I wanted advice, I turned to him because he was so worldly wise. He seemed to have seen and done everything." According to reports this week, that relationship continued right until the end. One source claimed Paddy never stopped looking after Sarah. The source told The Sun that Sarah often needed support over the past 4 decades, adding that he never abandoned her, and even allowed her to stay at his £15 million chalet in Verbier after she and Andrew reportedly left Royal Lodge earlier this year. Whether that generosity now extends to his will remains unknown. But if there is one person who has consistently needed financial help over the years, it's Sarah Ferguson. Her money troubles have followed her for decades. Following her divorce from Prince Andrew in 1996, Sarah lost the financial security that came with being a working royal. Although she reportedly received a divorce settlement, it was nowhere near the enormous settlements sometimes seen in celebrity divorces. She was left to build her own income through television appearances, publishing deals, endorsements, and business ventures. The problem was that her spending often appeared to outpace her earnings. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, reports regularly claimed she was carrying millions of pounds in debt. She publicly admitted making poor financial decisions. In interviews over the years, Sarah has described herself as someone who struggled with money management and said she often trusted the wrong people with business opportunities. One of the biggest criticisms centered on her expensive lifestyle. Former staff and royal commentators have described Sarah as someone who enjoyed luxury living even when her finances suggested she should have been cutting back. According to royal biographer Andrew Lowney, former members of staff described extravagant routines during her time living with Andrew. They claimed elaborate meals would be prepared by chefs, only for much of the food to go untouched. There were also claims that fresh cakes and baked goods were ordered regularly, regardless of whether anyone actually ate them. Those accounts have never been denied in detail by Sarah, but they contributed to the public perception that she continued living well beyond her means. There were also repeated reports of expensive travel, designer shopping, and luxury accommodation at times when headlines were simultaneously reporting serious financial difficulties. Then came perhaps the most damaging financial scandal of all. In 2010, the News of the World released undercover footage showing Sarah apparently offering access to Prince Andrew in exchange for £500,000. The footage shocked the royal family. Sarah quickly apologised publicly, calling it a serious error of judgment. She admitted she had been under severe financial pressure and said desperation had clouded her decision-making. The scandal severely damaged her public image and reinforced the narrative that money problems continued to influence her choices. Over the years, there were also repeated reports that friends had quietly stepped in to help her financially. Wealthy acquaintances were frequently said to have loaned her money, offered accommodation, or helped cover expenses during difficult periods. Paddy McNally was reportedly among those people. Unlike many relationships that faded after Sarah joined the royal family, his friendship appears to have endured for more than 4 decades. That may explain why speculation surrounding his estate has grown so quickly. Royal observers point out that Sarah has often relied more on loyal friends rather than formal royal support. Instead, Sarah built a career through books, public speaking, television appearances, and commercial projects. She has written dozens of children's books, autobiographies, and historical novels. She's appeared on American television, promoted wellness products, and taken on speaking engagements around the world. Those ventures generated income, but they also came alongside continued reports of financial strain. In recent years, Sarah appeared to be in a more stable position. She remained living alongside Andrew, continued publishing books, and rebuilt parts of her public image following her cancer treatment. But reports this week suggest that one of the people who quietly supported her throughout many of her lowest moments may have continued doing so until the very end. If Paddy McNally has indeed left Sarah a significant inheritance, it could dramatically change her financial future. For someone who has spent decades battling debt headlines, public financial scandals, and constant speculation over money, it would be a remarkable final act from the man she once called her father figure. For now, though, nothing has been officially confirmed. The contents of Paddy McNally's will have not been made public, and there is no confirmation of exactly what Sarah Ferguson may receive. But if reports are accurate, the Duchess of York may have just received the financial security that has eluded her for most of her adult life.